The soldier, seeing a woman for the first time, couldn't take his eyes off her. When the woman noticed, she didn't get angry but shyly lowered her head. She didn't know that the man in front of her hadn't seen a beautiful woman in 35 years. Just a few days ago, 3 discarded soldiers were disposed of like garbage, but fortunately, one of them was still barely alive. After waking up, before he could figure out the situation, he was dumped along with the ship's garbage onto the planet Arcadia. This planet was designated for dumping human industrial waste. With harsh natural conditions, surviving became Todd's primary concern. To his surprise, there were human activities in this garbage-filled place. He hurried over to investigate, blocked by a pile of scrap metal, leaving only a path in front of him with a rope in the middle. As he felt confused, a sandstorm suddenly attacked him. In a panic, he grabbed a nearby iron pillar, and the strong gale lifted him into the air. However, Todd, who was physically tough, pulls through with difficulty. After the terrifying storm, Todd followed the rope forward, arriving at an area full of graves. Feeling even more puzzled, with curiosity, he continued until he entered a valley where he finally found a place where people lived. Before he could figure out the place, another strong wind blew him to the ground, this time without any protection, causing more severe injuries. On the brink of death, a group of curious children suddenly appeared before his eyes. The soldiers' arrival alarmed the refugees, who had painstakingly escaped the war to rebuild their homes here and didn't want to ruin it with compassion. Fortunately, Jimmy, after patrolling the area, found no other soldiers or ships. Thus, under the parents' supervision, it was decided that the Mace couple would take care of him. Mace felt a bit worried. When his wife Sandra first saw Todd, she noticed his arm was tattooed with the names of countless battles, which startled her, but she still administered the medicine to him. She immediately informed her husband, worrying that Todd might attack the residents once healed, but kind-hearted Mace understood Todd, considering he was a soldier. The next day, Todd was awakened by the noise outside. Upon checking, he found the Mace family playing and frolicking. Having grown up without family warmth, Todd was confused by their behavior. Mace, instantly tense, quickly apologized. Seeing Todd still with a serious expression, Mace hurriedly took out a cane he made, trying to please him, but to Todd, this gesture seemed like an attack preparation, making his expression fierce. Noticing this, Mace demonstrated the cane's use. The family first felt Todd's oppressive presence. During dinner, Todd devoured his food, a habit ingrained from the army. Mace thought he was hungry and shared his portion with Todd, but the kind gesture drew hostility towards Todd instead of recognition. Later, Todd learned why everyone was hostile towards soldiers. The refugees had fled here to escape the war, having lost families and homes, forced to live on this inconspicuous planet with the garbage ships. Hearing this, Todd recalled his past, killing without considering the pain of the deceased's families. He finally understood the immense suffering his slaughter had caused others. During the afternoon's labor, a venomous snake approached Sandra. Before Todd could react, Sandra killed it first, patiently reminding Todd that such snakes were deadly to women and children. Her son Nathan had been bitten and became mute. Sandra hands Todd a vegetable seedling in her hand and asks him to plant one himself. Holding it gently, Todd planted it, feeling rooted for the first time. While scavenging with the others again, a sudden windstorm lifted Jimmy, putting his life in danger. Despite Mace's efforts, he couldn't reach him. Behind them, a device was rolling faster and faster. In the nick of time, the rope started moving backward automatically. Everyone looked back to see Todd slowly pulling it back. With his help, Jimmy was eventually saved. Just as everyone celebrated wildly, Todd looked into the distance at a gun, picking it up and playing with it skillfully. The crowd fell silent, breath held, eyes filled with worry. Mace cautiously approached to ask for the gun. At that moment, a garbage ship flew overhead, and Todd watched it thoughtfully. In the days that followed, Todd experienced the warmth of family, love, and friendship, the happiest time of his life. But his daily silence and heavy heart worried Sandra about his mental state. She asked him what it felt like to be a soldier. Todd replied with fear. The first warm hug made Todd tremble all over. Unable to adapt, Sandra had to let go, feeling sorry for him. When everyone thought he could gradually overcome his fear, Todd's condition worsened, like a ticking time bomb. Any slight trigger would bring war scenes to his mind. He had to hide away from everyone so he wouldn't hurt them. To cope with his PTSD, he would hit an iron barrel daily to divert his anxiety. Despite his bloody hands, he couldn't forget the inescapable sins of his past. Over time, parents began to worry about his mental state. Eventually, an accident occurred. Afterward, everyone was on edge. Unaware, Todd continued reflecting on his past cruelty. One morning, he woke from a nightmare, seeing Nathan share his favorite toy. Todd understood the boy wanted him to let go of his burden. As he prepared to return it, he saw a venomous snake that had caused Nathan's muteness. Filled with anger, this time, Todd didn't chase it away but threw his boot to signal to kill it. At the critical moment, Todd grabbed the snake, eyes filled with rage, but instead of killing it, he threw it down, signaling Nathan to handle it himself. He hoped Nathan would learn to protect himself, to be free from fear. This scene was witnessed by the Mace couple, who were very angry. They didn't want their son to become as ruthless as Todd. Determined, Mace decided not to vouch for Todd anymore. The community gathered to discuss Todd's fate. Parents worried about their children becoming warlike and ruthless soldiers. Moreover, Todd's unpredictable emotions were unacceptable in a family that didn't see war as the sole means of survival. So the parents decided to kick Todd out and let him go. Todd looked at Mace with tearful eyes, no longer fierce, only pleading. Mace lowered his head helplessly. Todd was abandoned again. He looked at Nathan and the Mace couple who had helped him, then turned away silently. Todd left amidst regretful gazes, hiding in an abandoned cement pipe to shed his first sorrowful tears. For the first time, he felt sadness. He had ties, things he cared about, and a truly living heart. The next day, a venomous snake appeared on the Mace couple's bed. Nathan bravely killed it with a boot. At that moment, Mace realized Todd's good intentions and felt his actions were the right way to educate. The only way to protect yourself is to be strong, and peace requires strength to maintain. Then he found Todd.
We were wrong. We made a mistake. We're sorry.
Who was gazing at the sky as a massive battleship loomed overhead. The man on board was Colonel Meekum, who intended to use the planet to train new soldiers by hunting down the refugees living there, planning to eradicate them completely. What Meekum didn't know was that on this seemingly insignificant planet, an old warrior they had once discarded, Todd, was now its protector. Todd was no longer the cold killing machine he once was. A lone soldier against 20 genetically enhanced warriors. Who would be the ultimate victor? As the battle began, Todd was immediately hit by 2 cannon blasts. Looking back, he saw Mace had fallen behind, his leg blown off by a shell. Seeing this, Todd grabbed Mace by the collar and dragged him to safety. The enemy's tracking screens lost sight of them. Todd, hiding nearby, was tending to Mace's wounds. A mech tank rumbled past them. Although he managed to stop the bleeding, Mace knew his injuries were fatal. He pleaded with Todd to protect his wife and children before succumbing to his wounds. Todd felt deep sorrow, and the fierce look in his eyes returned. Despite the enemy at their doorstep, the parents tried to reassure the frightened people. A mother went out to negotiate with the soldiers but quickly realized that peace couldn't be achieved through words alone.
God help us.
Chaos erupted among the valley's residents. Some armed men began to resist, but their guns were no match for the enemy's cannons. Witnessing the enemy's power, Jimmy fled in terror. To make the hunt more thrilling, the new soldiers sent out only 3 members to slaughter 50 unarmed refugees. However, they still don't know that among these 50 civilians lies a beast that is strong enough to make them meet God. The 3 new soldiers began firing at everyone, using various weapons to torture the refugees. The scene turned into a hellish nightmare. In the critical moment, Todd appeared and took down one soldier. Seeing his former home in ruins filled him with anguish. Another soldier with a flamethrower chased the children, ready to commit atrocities when Todd emerged and saved them. The last soldier, hearing the commotion, arrived with a Gatling gun, firing wildly. As Command tried to assess the situation, Todd grabbed a communicator and let out a guttural roar. Kane, momentarily puzzled, soon realized it was a challenge. Meekum noticed this, initially confused, then recognized it as provocation. He hadn't expected a group of lowly militia to take down his carefully trained soldiers. The subordinates suggested deploying all forces, but after experiencing the militia's fierceness, Meekum became cautious, fearing more tricks. Church, however, suggested using all heavy weapons to level the area. Meekum agreed with Church. Meanwhile, the valley was filled with death and sorrow. Nathan approached Todd, his eyes full of determination, hoping Todd would avenge them. Todd silently prepared his weapons. Sandra saw Todd's eyes and understood that her husband Mace was dead. Todd's resolve for revenge deepened. He painted his face, readied his gear, and set out to face 17 more genetically enhanced warriors. Sandra, worried, feared Todd might not return. Todd, filled with rage, prepared to challenge the super soldiers. He chose this moment to use the cover of night and the complex environment to his advantage. The new soldiers were unaware of Todd's presence, intent on using heavy weapons to flatten the area. In the next moment, they realized they were under attack. The news quickly reached Meekum, who had expected a straightforward hunt. Now seeing the situation spiral out of control, 2 mech tanks altered their tactics, splitting up to surround the remaining refugees. In the unfamiliar terrain, each new soldier was highly alert. But to Todd, this terrain was all too familiar. A lone soldier, patrolling a dead end, looked down only to be pulled into a pit by Todd, fed to a venomous snake. His screams echoed, filling the remaining soldiers with fear. They switched from excitement to terror, wondering who was obstructing them. They began firing flares to search every corner. For a seasoned soldier like Todd, this was futile. After eliminating 1 soldier, Todd submerged in water. The remaining 2 soldiers, to avoid surprises, preemptively sprayed flames to clear obstacles. As teams reported their safety, letting their guard down, Todd emerged from the water, wielding the Gatling gun, mowing down the 2 soldiers before they could react. Losing 4 members mysteriously, the remaining soldiers began a concentrated hunt. 2 sentries on a high point were taken down by unknown fire. Ground soldiers were met with bullets, one falling instantly. The others fired wildly at the distant threat. As they charged, another soldier fell, discovering a trap.
Retreat!
After the explosion, Todd tied himself with ropes, using the planet's harsh environment to his advantage. As the soldiers searched, they didn't realize it was too late to counter the planet's deadly conditions. Losing so many soldiers enraged Meekum. Church mocked him for his pride in the new soldiers. Infuriated, Meekum decided to deploy 2 teams, each driving a mech tank to level the valley. But they didn't expect the lead tank to be attacked from above. Before they could identify the assailant, 3 gunners on the tank's roof were dead. The other tank began shelling the valley wildly. The refugees, barely recovered, were once again caught in the crossfire. Kane unleashed all his firepower on the unarmed civilians. At that moment, Todd commandeered another tank and headed towards Kane. Kane, unaware that Todd was the driver, ordered him to flank and fire, but the tank on the screen didn't follow his command and drove straight towards him. By the time Kane realized something was wrong, it was too late. Enraged by the heavy losses, Meekum decided to deploy a nuke to destroy the planet. Meanwhile, Kane, not dead with the tank, injected himself with all his comrades' adrenaline shots despite severe injuries. Todd, moving children to safety, encountered Kane. Both exchanged fierce looks, and amid the thunderous roars, they began a deadly fight. Though younger and stronger, Kane underestimated Todd's experience. Kane initially overpowered Todd but injured himself due to inexperience. Despite the beating, Todd stood back up. Seeing something on the ground, Todd's gaze misled Kane. The new super soldier was down. Todd quickly headed to the battleship and saw his former comrades setting up the nuke. The comrades quickly noticed the surviving refugees. Seeing the innocent faces, they were reminded of their own childhood. Back then, they had no choice, but now they had the choice to save or abandon these children. Todd stood by, watching them. The comrades, frowning and surprised, seemed willing to follow their former captain once more. Meanwhile, inside the battleship, Meekum was extremely anxious, preparing to abandon his team and flee. However, Church, having trained these soldiers from a young age, refused to leave prematurely. Meekum then shot Church on the spot. Before Meekum could escape the planet, the veteran soldiers captured him and brought him before Todd. His arrogance vanished instantly, replaced by shock. He was expected to have some backbone, but he begged for mercy, even wetting his pants, evoking disdain. Todd then threw them off the battleship. He led his comrades and the valley's survivors to a new home, Planet 31. Meekum and his men, along with the planet Arcadia, were destroyed by the nuke. At the story's end, Nathan opened his arms for a hug. Todd didn't refuse, his posture stiff as he slowly lifted Nathan. This act symbolized his farewell to the past and his readiness to embark on a new journey.